All right, welcome back. If you're ready to level up past the absolute basics in React Native, you are in exactly the right spot. Today is all about that day two knowledge. We're going to lock in the four most essential JavaScript concepts you will use, and I mean constantly. Think of these as your core toolkit for handling pretty much any data that comes your way. Okay, let's get into it.
So we're going to tackle four main pillars today. First up, we'll get into objects and how they structure our data. Then we'll jump into arrays and, more importantly, how we can transform them. After that, we'll cover a really cool modern technique called destructuring, and finally, we're going to demystify promises, which is how we deal with data that takes a little while to show up.
First up, objects. At its heart, JavaScript is really all about objects. They are, without a doubt, the most fundamental way we group related pieces of information together into one single tidy package.
So what is an object really? The best way to think about it is like a little digital filing cabinet. You've got labels, which we call keys, and each one of those labels has a piece of information attached to it, which we call a value. This simple key-value idea, it's just incredibly powerful. Okay, let's see what this actually looks like in code. It's super simple. We've made a constant here called person. See the curly braces? Inside, name is our key, and Abhishek is its value. Same thing for city and Bangalore. And just like that, we've bundled all that related data into one variable.
And getting that data back out, it's even easier. We use something called dot notation. You just type the object's name, a dot, and then the key you want. So person.name gets us Abhishek. It's really that straightforward. But what if we have a whole list of people, not just one? Well, that leads us perfectly to our next concept.
All right, on to pillar number 2, arrays. If you think about it, objects are for storing a bunch of different properties about one single thing. Arrays, on the other hand, are for storing a list of similar things.
And hey, for any of you coming over from an iOS development background, I've got some great news. That mental model you have for how arrays work in Swift, it's pretty much the exact same idea here. You already understand the concept of an ordered list of items.
But here's where arrays become a real superpower in JavaScript. They're not just for storing stuff, they're for transforming stuff. Check out the map method. This lets you run a function on every single item in an array, and it gives you back a brand new array with the results. So here we're taking numbers and we're using map to create a new array where every number is doubled. Now imagine, what if you had an array of those person objects? You could use map to create a whole new list of just their names. This idea of transforming data is a pattern you're going to use all the time.
Okay, let's talk about our third concept, destructuring. Now I know, the name sounds a little complicated, but I promise it's just a fancy word for a modern professional shortcut. It's all about pulling data out of objects and arrays in a much cleaner, more readable way.
In this slide, this just says it all. Look at the left, the old way. You have to create a new variable for every single property you want. It's fine, but it's repetitive. Now look at the right. With destructuring, you just declare the properties you want inside curly braces, and bam! JavaScript pulls them out into variables for you, all in one clean line. It's so much better.
So why does this matter so much? Here's the crucial part. This is the standard way you'll see props handled in React Native. Instead of getting a big props object and typing props.name, props.city over and over, you just destructured them right there in the function's arguments. It's the convention, and now you know exactly how it works.
And that brings us to our final pillar, and it's a big one, promises. In pretty much any real app, you're going to need to fetch data from a server or read something from a file. The thing is, those operations don't happen instantly. Promises are just JavaScript's way of managing these asynchronous tasks, the things that take time to finish.
Honestly, this quote is the perfect way to think about it. A promise is literally a placeholder. It's a stand-in for a value that JavaScript is expecting to get for you sometime in the future. It's basically a commitment that says, hey, eventually, you're either going to get the data you asked for, or I'll give you an error explaining what went wrong.
Now, there are a few different ways to work with these promises, but the most modern, the most readable syntax by far is using async and await. This pair of keywords lets us write code that deals with delays, but it looks and feels a lot more like regular step-by-step code.
Let's just walk through this. First, you mark the function with the async keyword. That's a signal to JavaScript that something inside might take a while. Then, inside, you use the magic await keyword. This literally tells JavaScript, okay,
Pause right here on this line and don't move on until the fetch is done and we have a response. Then it does it again. It pauses until that response is turned into JSON. It makes a really complex flow incredibly simple to read from top to bottom.
And again, for those of you with a Swift background, this whole idea should feel really familiar. It's the exact same principle as async/await in Swift. The core concept of not blocking your app while you wait for something is identical. It's just the keywords and syntax that are a little bit different.
So let's wrap this all up. These four concepts, objects, arrays, destructuring, and using async await for promises, these really are the core toolkit. They are what you are going to need to handle data in any modern React Native application you build.
So here's the quick and dirty summary. We use objects to group our data together with keys and values. We use arrays to hold lists of things that we can powerfully transform. Destructuring is our clean, elegant shortcut for pulling values out of them. And finally, async await is how we make dealing with delayed data from promises look simple and clean.
And I really want to leave you with this thought. Learning all this stuff can feel like a lot at once, but you are doing great. It's all about that slow, steady progress. Mastering these four concepts is a massive step forward. So now you have the fundamental tools you need to manage data in JavaScript. The next logical step, of course, is to take that data and actually put it up on the screen for a user to see. So the question is, are you ready to start building the UI? We'll see you in the next one.